And joining me in the studio is Tod Kalous, market analyst for CattleFax. Welcome back to the show, Tod.
Great to be here, Kevin.
Based on the January report, this cow herd has now declined 15 of the last 17 years. What's in store for 2013 in terms of expansion or contraction of this U.S. cow herd?
You bet, Kevin. In terms of that, when you look at the beef cow herd, we know it was down 900,000 cows nearly on January 1. When you looked at we know that some regions of the country, though, producers are trying to expand. If you looked at the North Plains and the Northwest specifically, their cow herd and their replacement numbers were actually bigger on January 1. At the same time, we know that beef cow slaughter was down nearly 500 million cows last year. We know that the beef replacement number has been up the last 2 years, in each of the last 2 years. So those factors tell us there are some producers trying to expand. Now, obviously, the biggest wild card is still weather. We think we're going to get some more normal temperatures and more normal precipitation for some of the regions of the country. And if that happens, we still think beef cow slaughter will be down another 500,000 cows this year. And at the same time, we think replacement numbers should continue to rise as well. And if those factors happen, if those things do happen, we do think that the cow slaughter, beef cow slaughter specifically, will be down another 500,000 head this year, and the cow herd should stabilize by next year.
Okay, and so based on that stabilization, what is that going to mean in terms of total beef production?
You bet, Kevin. So we're talking a smaller cow herd. We know that we still had a smaller calf crop last year and the year before that. So we still have beef production decline another 600 million pounds this year. I think when you look at trade, you bring in imports, exports, we talk about population continuing to rise. So our per capita net beef supply, we still have that to decline over 1 pound per person. Close to 56 pounds per person for 2013. So from a supply standpoint, still supportive to prices, to higher prices. But when you bring in the other side of the equation, we bring in demand. We're not as optimistic about demand for a few reasons. One big reason will be incomes. We think consumer incomes are going to be down this year. When you look at taxes continuing to rise, healthcare costs continuing to go up, consumers are just going to have less money to spend in total. At the same time, when you look at our competing meat situation, pork and poultry, looks like their production numbers are going to be bigger this year, which we know that means they'll be very price competitive with beef, which will probably put more pressure on beef demand as well.
So when you factor in all these supply and demand variables, put you on the spot, what are your thoughts relative to cattle prices in 2013?
You bet, Kevin. So for 2013, even though we're a little softer on our outlook for beef demand, we do think that because of the supply decline that prices are still going to average higher for the year. We do think that fed cattle prices should average between 126 to 128. We think the lows for the year will probably be between 115 to 116. The high is probably next fall near 135 to 136. I think if you looked at our feeder cattle outlook, specifically a 750-pound steer, we think they're going to average around $1.55. The low is probably the low 140s, the highs in the mid to upper 160s. You still have a relatively tight feeder cattle supply. Still have plenty of excess feeding capacity out there, and you still have premiums in the deferred live cattle futures. So all these factors should continue to be supportive of this higher feeder cattle outlook. And if you look at calf prices, say 550-pound steer prices, we think they're going to average close to $1.75, which is about $8 better than last year as well. So if you look at the entire industry, if you look at from pasture to plate, the cow-calf producer is still in the driver's seat in terms of profitability.
Very good. Well, certainly a lot of this hinges on weather, so we'll see kind of how the year plays. Thanks so much for coming back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
For more information and market analysis, just log on to CattleFax.com.